Do you remember how on Sesame Street they'd say how this episode was brought to you by a letter or a number? Well, this summer has been brought to us by the letter P. The two biggest things going on all summer have both started with the letter P, the pandemic and protests. There's also been a lot of finger pointing. That's another P word too. One of the Bible readings today comes from an epistle by St. Paul, whose name begins with P. I asked the stuffed pelican if he would help me with today's homily. Maybe he'll just sit here with me. Maybe he'll whisper things in my ear. It doesn't matter, because this has been the summer of P, so there has to be room for the pelican. The pelican and I were looking over St. Paul's epistle, which is some powerful prose, not only the part where he says to be patient and to persevere in prayer, but other parts too. I especially like the part where he posits that you should never repay anyone evil for evil. Paul said to bless those who are mean to you. Jesus said basically the same thing. St. Paul was just channeling Jesus. This pandemic has people perplexed, and when people are perplexed, sometimes they say and do mean things. That's happened in this pandemic, but Christians should try to bless those who are mean to us, and never to repay evil for evil. Protests, too. People protest when other people perpetuate pernicious policies. Perpetuating pernicious policies, especially when police are perceived to push some people down and pull other people up, perchance because of the pigment of their skin, is problematic. People protest in order to prevent perfidy and to promote policies and practices that provide plenty for all people. The pandemic and the protests have been full of pitfalls, like a paucity of tests for the virus and the potential possibility that someone will perish at a protest if things get out of hand, as they have done from time to time. People being people, sometimes our pride prevails when we think we have something to prove. But perhaps picking a more positive plan would have been a better idea. The pelican and I perceive that one profound message from the epistle today is the importance of planning to practice kindness, even toward those you don't get along with or even like. I wasn't planning to preach like this, people. I just wanted to remind you that Paul said not to be overcome by evil, but to overcome evil with good. But the pelican persuaded me to pick as many phrases as I could that start with P, and even to add a prefix or probe the dictionary for possibilities whose pronunciation pairs well with this plan of packed plosives. And since it has been a summer brought to us by the letter of P, it seemed positively perfect, especially since a project that pertains to the letter P should always include the most important P word of them all, which is also a part of the Pauline epistle. After he proposes that we repay no one evil for evil, he employs the biggest P word of them all, when he prays that we will perforce live peaceably with all. Peace is possible, even in the midst of pandemic and protest, if we prioritize it along with kindness, love, mercy, and forgiveness. Give peace a chance. Give peace a chance. This homily, like this summer, has been brought to you by peace and by the letter P.